Trump was on with Mark Levin, yet another meeting of, total butchness, the butchiness of, and man, these Republicans know how to do man stuff. Hey man, come on now. We got 420 coming in here. Come on now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, sports show and whatnot. Shapiro is woke. This is Mark Levin, and he's helping Trump sell his book because Trump is broke right now and needs to pay his legal bills, and the RNC stopped paying them once he started running for president, but he can't not run for president because he thinks that's the only thing that's going to protect him from the legal ramifications of his shitty actions. So here he is selling a book like it's fucking QVC for, like, QAnon VC.
Sean Connery.
There's a picture of him with Sean Connery. Yeah, back when Trump was a douchebag TV celeb, and
passed away fairly recently.
Yes, he did.
One of my favorite actors.
Great.
You point out in your book that this guy was a powerhouse in Scotland. He didn't talk a lot, but when he spoke, people listened.
Yes, Sean Connery was one of the most famous Scottish actors. We're aware.
An experience with that, and you mention it in the book. What was that?
Yeah, tell us the story about the time you met Sean Connery. It's and by the way, and tell me why we couldn't do this in the library room you let Steve Bannon use, and I'm sitting out in the middle of this empty dance hall looking like I'm sitting on an inside-out wedding cake.
Never met him, but I was doing a big...
Then now I know it's going to be a good story. Say this again. Tell us the story about when you ran into...
Who's passed away fairly recently, one of my favorite actors.
Great.
You point out in your book that this guy was a powerhouse in Scotland. He didn't talk a lot, but when he spoke, people listened. You had an experience with that, and you mention it in the book. What was that?
And again, he didn't speak a lot, but when he did, people listened. They had to lean in. He had such an accent that sometimes you couldn't understand what he was saying.
I never met him, but I was doing a big project in Scotland, and magnificent, on almost 2,000 acres, and they were...
Yes, we understand that golf courses are all about poorly used land. And?
With dunes that were essentially landmarked. You couldn't touch them. You couldn't even walk on them. They were sacred dunes.
The sacred dunes of Scotland.
And I came in, I wanted to build this unbelievable golf course on those dunes with the base of...
Like an asshole. I was like, maybe we could make a mini golf course out of Stonehenge next.
Dunes, and these are among the biggest dunes in the world, and they were very...
Yes, lots of dunes there. There's so many dunes, and it's very... Yeah, the book Dune is written about...
Protected environmentally.
And
I was... going through it, and it was really a rough zone. I never thought... I was always good at getting zoning.
I was always good at getting zoning. What he means is he was traditionally a slumlord until he started to barnacle on top of other people's projects.
And... all of a sudden, and I was having a hard time here, and it was years, years, a lot of money, environmental reports, impact statements. And all of a sudden, and I didn't know Sean Connery. I met him once quickly, but I didn't know him. But he was from Scotland.
Really? I would have put that at the beginning of the story, because I don't...
And, different kind of a guy, tough guy, actually. And he said...
Look at Levin. Oh, yeah. Tell me, what was he wearing? Did he smell like cedar and cigars?
Let the damn Americans spend money in Scotland. Let him have his golf course. Let him have fun, and let him put people to work. Let the bloke, let him do what he wants to do. Don't be stupid. That was it. I didn't think it. As soon as he said that, it was like...
It's amazing.
It was, everything changed. So then, because of that, I got to know him a little bit. I said, that's really unbelievable.
Jesus Christ. So this is the day we find out that that Sean Connery's house was built by Russians.
You have to see headlines in every paper in Scotland. Sean Connery says, let him do it. And that was like God coming down and saying, in Scotland,
Yeah, it was like God coming down and saying, you know, Scotland.
Let him do it.
Scotland, like, it was like God coming down saying, you know, Scotland, let him do it. Hashtag the best words.
And everything opened up. It was incredible. And I said, Sean, you ever think about getting into politics? But he got pretty sick after that. He was
Jesus Christ. This is like every time I talk to my mom or my dad on the phone, it's always a joke about who's died recently. Like they will always drop somebody, like somebody was old and they died. And it became a running gag in the family for a while. I'm like, all right, who died? That's the only reason you're calling. What happened? And it's nice to know that this is just how they talk.
He wasn't a young guy when that happened. It wasn't that
we know.
long ago. But I really appreciated it. I thought it was amazing, actually. It's an interesting story. Just
no, it isn't.
The word. He had tremendous power in Scotland and, you know, in different places, but in Scotland.
Yeah, in Scotland, other places too. Like if you wanted to build something in, you know, in Azerbaijan, he could snap his fingers and you could hear that snap and then nothing would happen because it was really Armenia where he was most popular.
It was pretty.
It was huge in eastern Syria.
Amazing to watch it. Good guy, tough guy.
You're a New York man, or at
No, he isn't.
least you were.
He's a Florida man, but on all levels.
So you had to deal with a lot of politicians in New York. You have several of their letters in here. Chuck Schumer, who really thanked you for making the first contribution to his campaign years and years and years ago.
Yeah, when you tried to buy your way into politics back then, but then you hit bottom because there was only so much they would put up with, and then you realized Republicans would put up with anything, and so you switched over. Why is this a fucking mystery?
The Cuomos, and those letters are in here too.
Because he owns 4 pieces of New York, Manhattan real estate. There's a picture of them with every person who owns that much New York real estate and more.
Mm-hmm. Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo.
All the Cuomos, Shemp Cuomo and Tyler Cuomo.
What was your relationship with them like?
So, a couple of things. First of all, Chuck Schumer, I gave him, you know, New York is largely Democrat, although you
largely
never know because of the way the voting systems are. You never know. You may be surprised. But
yeah, I was only donating to him because I thought they're probably stealing the election and I want to go with the side that wins.
I gave him his first contribution. I was in Brooklyn at an office that I had with my father in Brooklyn.
So it's your fault.
And he was running for the state assembly, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Right out of law school.
And I gave him a contribution.
Jesus, you guys are old.
I think it was $500. I think it was the first check he ever got. Now, he used to brag about it. Now he doesn't want to talk about it so much, but that's okay.
Well, it's because right about that time, you know, maybe a couple of weeks later, people started to realize that you were handing out those checks to buy yourself some leverage because it looked like he was going to win anyways, that he was sort of a favorite before he even entered. And so you were worried that your court case about being a racist slumlord might not go your way. And so.
But I gave him. And I got along with him very good. Look, he's a smart guy. I got along with him really good until I ran.
Until I realized communism.
For office. You know, I'm running as a Republican and got nasty after that.
Yeah, that's all it was. It was just because he ran as a Republican. His disgusting remarks about stuff or his idiotic plans and his bullshit about Mexico building a wall, that had nothing to do with it.
The Cuomo family, I knew.
The whole idea that women should be punished if they've had an abortion when he's paid for multiple abortions himself, nothing to do with it. It was just the R. Democrats, they were going to change the name to Democats at one point, which I'm sort of for, just to take the R out. It's a thing we have against R's.
I knew Mario very well. I helped him. I supported him. I had an out because I found him not to be a very loyal person. I just didn't think he.
Yeah, I gave him money, and he was supposed to protect me against the consequences legally of my actions, and he wouldn't. I mean, what kind of, what did I pay for? I thought this was, isn't this like a fee?
It was. Some people said he was a good speaker, and some people said he wasn't a good speaker.
Well, I'm glad. You know, that's the thing about leadership is it's definitive.
You know, the sun will rise tomorrow, all of that. I don't know. But
no, I don't. None of us know what the fuck you're talking about.
I had a falling out with Mario. Not during his time.
How you doing with Luigi, though?
It was afterwards. It was sort of afterwards. With Andrew.
What about the pandemic?
Oh, look at the cut. Like he got boring and they cut him. Look at this. Watch
Falling
this.
out with Mario.
Listen to his voice trail off because they edited it down.
Not during his time. It was afterwards. It was sort of afterwards. With Andrew.
What about the pandemic?
See that? With Andrew, it's like, well, what about the pandemic? Fuck that.
How he handled that. It seemed to me he would praise you one day and then attack you the next.
Well, he was a guy that would one day he'd say, thank you very much. I sent the ship. I rebuilt the Javits Center. I did all of that. And then they did.
He rebuilt the Javits Center. No, he did not.
Didn't use it to the extent they should have. And if they would have put the people in there instead of putting them back in nursing homes where everybody got infected, you would have had a much different story in New York.
Or you would have spread it to all of the elder care facilities instead of just the ones where it was already there, and the death toll could have been even larger because it was a giant open-air gymnasium.
But yeah, he'd say, I mean, I have letters from him that you have done the greatest job of anybody, and I did. I let the governors run their states, and we had some governors that did a fantastic job. South Carolina, Tennessee, South Dakota. We had governors that did a fantastic
You mean the ones with few people in them?
job.
Or states that wouldn't have even been able to run their states, even if they clamped down on everybody because of the nature of the politics in their state?
And I let them do it. If they wanted to keep their state open, I said, keep it open. If they wanted to close it, I said, you close it. Numerous Republican governors kept their states open.
By the way, that's actually the law. The national state of emergency must align with a state of emergency in each individual state, and you have to do that. You can't federally shut down a state. You don't, unless we've been hit with a chemical weapon or there's been a nuclear war and we've declared war. You can't do it. So he's patting himself on the back for what effectively was his only course of action.
And frankly, the numbers were better than if you closed. You know, it's sort of an amazing thing. You think if you close it and seal it, but they were sealing it. People that weren't even leaving their apartments were catching COVID. I mean, you know.
No one who never left their apartment caught COVID if you didn't interact with somebody who had it. It didn't spontaneously come up through the fucking toilet like a snake in a horror movie.
Explain that one.
No, you explain that one. You just said that. What's going on with his hair? Lighting.
So the Democrats had a...
Yeah, it looks like he dyed the back part of it and then didn't do the top and then folded it over. It looks like they sprayed it or something.
Pretty lousy run with that if you look at, you know, what happened. But...
you were president when all this happened.
We did a fantastic job. The ventilators...
oh, yeah, we were the king of ventilators. You guys remember that sketch?
The equipment I got. Bringing the hospital, as an example, I got the hospital boat, a great hospital boat. I brought it into New York. It was fully equipped for COVID. We rebuilt the Javits Center. It was like a hospital.
Yeah, totally rebuilt the Javits. It's now a hospital. Like, they just left it that way because it was so well done. Or they just put curtain separators and beds in a giant fucking open air gymnasium.
And I did that in Louisiana. I did that in many states. In Chicago, I did. We built the most beautiful facilities.
Gorgeous, really. Like walking gardens, all kinds of stuff. And I was able to kick back to some contractors some federal money that you would not believe. No, totally useless, but...
GSA worked with us, and the Army Corps of Engineers worked with us. They were unbelievable. The Army...
What do you mean worked with you, dumb fuck? You were president at the time. They're supposed to.
The Army Corps of Engineers was able to build hospitals in 3 days.
They did not build a hospital in 3 days. They set up facilities to be used as hospitals. They didn't build fucking... what the fuck? This is just embarrassing. What are you talking about?
I mean, literally take a space like...
No, not literally.
Convention center space. And within 3 days, it was an unbelievable hospital.
Yes, it is not believable to view it as a hospital. And not downplaying National Guard or the Army Corps of Engineers when they did it. But for fuck's sake, why is this shocking? The irony is that when FEMA or the Army Corps of Engineers or the National Guard in any particular state did this kind of stuff during Obama, or, you know, because of a hurricane or because of an earthquake or fires or a chemical plant exploding or any shit like that during Bush or during Clinton or whatever, it was all like, they're setting us up for Agenda 21. They're going to put us all in plastic coffins and stack us in underground and eat us, you know, after the nuclear fallout lands, whatever the fuck. But when Trump, you know, does the bare minimum, it's a fucking miracle.
With dividers and everything else.
With dividers and everything else. With dividers. Did they stop at Pier 1? Were they the linen ones or the ones with like the paper ones with the flowers on them?
We did a fantastic...
With dividers and everything. What the fuck?
Fantastic job. Never got credit for that. I should have, because the honest governors will tell you, because I'd have a governor's call like every week.
Yeah, Pence did it because you would get in arguments if they asked for anything and it upset you, and then you'd tell them not to send shit to that state, and Pence would have to send it anyways because Americans would die.
Honest governors, of which there are some, would tell you we did a fantastic job in getting them the gowns and the masks and
the gowns and the masks and the tiaras and the heels
and everything,
the goggles.
You know? But that was a very tough period for our country. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody, you know, we heard stories.
Did you around the campfire? I tried to think of the most harmless thing. We used to roast the Stay Puft marshmallows by the fire at Camp Wakanda. Look!
China, I was probably the first one. I said it came from the lab in Wuhan. I knew that. For one thing, you saw body bags all over the place around that lab. You know, there were body bags all over that area.
Yeah, but not in the fucking lab, stupid. In the city. And the fact that this ass... Ugh, God. Do we have to go back and look at the Australian interview where the interviewer points out that he's the one who turned gain-of-function research back on at that lab?
And nobody...
And then... when he cut funding, he only cut it for security at the lab. Honest to God, in any normal universe, that would be a conspiracy theory on the level of Building 7, non-fucking stop.
Talks about it. But in Wuhan, you had, through satellite pictures and other things, you had pictures, body bags all over the place.
He didn't have satellite pictures of fucking body bags. He didn't. That's not where those pictures came from, stupid. Oh, God.
And you could see little lines, you know, from way up, but they couldn't be anything else. But
you could see little lines from way up. Jesus Christ. We all saw the body bag fucking photos.
I said, and I've said right from the beginning, it was the lab in Wuhan. It got out.
It got out.
Got out of the lab.
It got out of the lab and just roamed the countryside like a fucking werewolf.
I think it was incompetence. I really believe it was incompetence. More, you know, people said, I was charging China.
Well, by the way, it has to be incompetence. Otherwise, if it was on purpose, then, again, Donald Trump presided over the greatest bioweapon attack on American soil in history that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans, and his response was to sell to people who attacked us a bunch of beef, pork, corn, and soybeans.
So much money in tariffs and taxes that a lot of people said they did it to get me out. But we did great in that election. I did much better in the second election than I did in the first. I got 12 million more votes.
The book is Letters to Trump.
Jesus, they just cut him off right there. He went into, more than likely, he's on Fox News. So that's what the edits probably were. This one was probably him, you know, going, and that was a rigged and stolen. They had to cut that off in Levin because this is on Fox. This is a video from Fox. Look, there you go. Good Lord. I didn't get enough credit for being a pain in the ass